Good morning, folks. Welcome to the midweek edition of the Satori Traders Precious Metals News. This morning, I am going to start by looking at a chart of Vox Royalty. And someone asked me in the comment section to look at this chart. And just happened that when I opened the chart this morning, I was in the weekly time frame and I noticed this activity. This is back in, that's June of 20, June of 20. And so, before I proceeded any further, I wanted to understand what was happening in this company, this stock, back in the May, June time frame. And so I went to the company's website and they're under news, and any of the mining companies that are serious about attracting investor money, this is pretty much the layout of their website. They're going to have an area for news under their investors. Typically there will be a presentation where this is their sales pitch to investors. And so anyway, this is kind of a stand look and feel for a mining company website. But so anyway, I go out to their news, I go to 2020, I go back and I look at, okay, what was going on in the May, June time frame. Let's see, here's my aim 3, what do we got? Some kind of financing, providing guidance, binding agreement, let's see, to acquire new royalty. Well, that's what royalty companies do, so nothing there. Let's see, what else? And so nothing really except, what did we get? Let's see, May 25. Oh, commencement of trading. What the heck is that about? That's kind of interesting. So let's go open up particular press release and see what it says, because commencement of trading, that's kind of interesting. What are they commencing to trade on? And so, if we skim through this, what we find is that AIM3 Ventures and Vox are doing some kind of merger, reverse takeover. So reverse takeover transaction between Vox and AIM3. And so anyway, now we've got some insight into what was happening to this company into this time frame. Well, they were doing a reverse takeover, and I think there was a 15-to-1 reverse stock split. So every 15 shares of this corporation over here became one share of this corporation over here. So anyway, that somewhat explains this big discontinuity in that stock. Digging a little bit deeper into, okay, what were the terms of that transaction? And I just happened to look at, in my Google search, just happened to bring up this article. So this is AIM3 Vox Royalty, subsidiary. So we got a couple of corporations involved. Business combination agreement, boo, Cayman Islands. And so, corporations are free to incorporate wherever they want. Botswana, incorporate in any location that you choose to, but understand that discerning investors, savvy investors, when they're digging into details and they see a company incorporating in the Cayman Islands, that potentially raises some red flags. And so anyway, just noting, let's see. So Vox continuing, surviving entity, wholly owned subsidiary of AIM3. And so anyway, I'd spend a bunch of time digging into the details of this, but just from that one paragraph, as an investor, I can see that there are multiple business structures, business entities, LLCs, corporations, LTDs, any number of ways to organize a business. But anyway, multiple business entities all playing, I don't want to call it hanky-panky, but that's a lot of machinations going on for my tastes in the background. And in truth, I start here. So as an investor, I don't get past this point. There are 2,000 mining stocks to pick from, more than 2,000 mining stocks. Why would I choose to invest in a stock that looked like this? But that's me. Now, perhaps this is fantastic value. I mean, from a fundamental perspective, maybe this is a super duper value. But as a investor with limited time to investigate mining stocks, can't can't investigate 2,000 mining stocks. Nobody can. No one individual is going to investigate 2,000 mining stocks. And so we have to have some methodology for filtering through, weeding, filtering the wheat from the chaff when we go to deal with 2,000 mining stocks. That kind of price action is enough for me. I don't need to go any further than that. Accumulation distribution. So, for whatever reason, investors changed in how they were managing the stock in their portfolio. Prior to this point, steady. Now we've got this declining action. Obviously, 15-to-1 reverse takeover is going to affect the accumulation distribution, but that distribution has continued. So MACD, nothing really exciting there. So anyway, that's Vox Royalty in the weekly time frame. The royalty stocks that I have chosen to invest in, the first one is Eli Gold, and the main one. I have a large position in Eli, and we can see we're here in the weekly time frame. We've got a new buy signal, so on the moving average crossover. So we got a buy signal back at the end of June, and so far it is continuing. I would describe this current price action as basing. This is Eli Gold is basing above this support resistance level, and I would call that action bullish. If we look at the accumulation distribution indicator, we can see that investors are choosing to accumulate this stock, and in recent months are accumulating it heavily. And so, there's Eli in the weekly time frame. One more, I have a small position in EMX. This is a U.S. listed royalty company. And part of my strategy for investing in U.S. listed precious metal stocks is that at some point there may be a retail rush into mining stocks, and the typical retail investor is not likely to go out and look for Canadian listed or Australian listed mining stocks. They're going to start with the U.S. listed stocks, and so that's my primary reason for investing in EMX. It is a U.S. listed royalty company. Now, the technical action is not very exciting. Here we are again, accumulation distribution. Well, for whatever reason, investors are choosing not to accumulate EMX. So MACD, nothing exciting, oversold. Yeah, quite oversold based on the history of this indicator, energy in the tank. So nothing exciting about EMX. But if I were choosing, so if I decided for whatever reason this morning I want to add some more money to my precious metals royalty positions, would I choose Vox? Would I choose Eli? Or would I choose EMX? Well, strictly from a technical perspective, I'd choose Eli Gold. But, that's just me. It is a Canadian listed stock. So if for whatever reason you're not investing in Canadian stocks or investing in this stock over the counter, so I've got it both. I've got it as a Canadian listing as an over the counter, different accounts. But anyway, of those three royalty companies, this morning I would definitely be favoring Eli over the other two. But let's keep rolling. This is gold in the monthly time frame. As I pointed out on the weekend, I don't like redrawing charts because that's basically making the pattern that we're analyzing on the chart, making it fit the price action, and that's not what we're trying to do. Is that we're trying to determine ahead of time, predictively determine what price is up to. And so if we redraw our charts every time price invalidates our premise, our theory, we're fooling ourselves. We're not helping ourselves, in my opinion. And so anyway, gold has started to violate the right shoulder of this head and shoulders pattern. There are no laws or rules that say how we have to draw this. See, I could easily modify that shoulder and say, hey, look, there it is. We're still working on this right shoulder. And I suspect we are. But anyway, I don't want to arbitrarily redraw that pattern prematurely. There's gold in the monthly. This is the weekly time frame for gold. We can see that last week we got this big spot downward in the gold price of gold. And of course, recognize this is the futures price of gold. This is paper gold. This is not physical gold. So if you were trying to buy physical gold from last week, its price didn't change that much. Nobody bought physical for $16.80 last week. So that's a paper price. And so let's talk about this action. What happened last week? So on Friday, actually, let's do it on the daily time frame. So, nothing really exciting on this weekly time frame, other than noting that this price spike has taken us back. We've now got a successful test, another successful test of this level 1680 as support. So double bottom, triple bottom. So far, another test of support. Strong, clearly buyers came in at this level and pushed price way back up. Let's look in the daily time frame. So, and talk about the action, what happened. So on Friday, we got the first big price plunge. If you're just looking at that activity based on the chart, you would call that a price plunge. If you want to talk more accurately, if you want to provide some more context for this price action, we would have to acknowledge that we started the day with a hawkish statement from, it was one of the Fed heads, may have even been Powell. So anyway, Friday morning threatened to taper. We're going to taper sooner than we expected to, which of course everybody knows is bullshit, because they're never going to taper. All they can do is to taper. And for whatever reason, whether it's algorithms or unsophisticated investors who don't realize that the Fed will never taper, anyway, the markets react to the Fed heads threatening to taper. And then we get the follow not long after Friday morning with the jobs report that came in hotter than expected. And of course, if you've never looked into the BLS and how they manipulate numbers, clearly we don't want to go into it here. But so anyway, we got a hot jobs report on Friday morning. Most of the new jobs are leisure and hospitality. A bunch of lifeguards and cocktail waitresses hired for the summer. The numbers will reflect in September, October that they were all let go. So just a game. All the metrics are manipulated these days. So anyway, Friday. So on the tail of Powell being hawkish, we're going to taper sooner than expected. Hot jobs report. Somebody starts dumping futures contracts in the futures markets, obviously. And so we get this big plunge. I don't know, that's $39, $40 on Friday. And then so now the second trading day, this is Sunday night, soon as the market opens, Sunday evening. So this is some of the thinnest trading during the trading week. This is some of the thinnest possible trading. This is the open on Sunday night. And in particular, on the 8th, 9th, there was an Asian holiday. The two of the major Asian market that trade precious metals and would normally be open on Sunday night were not open. And so even thinner trading Sunday night. And so out of the gate, when the markets open, somebody dumped, 19,000 contracts, 1.75 million ounces of gold. Anyway, it's ridiculous. $3 billion worth of gold contracts dumped onto the market in the first 12 minutes of trading. And anybody who has studied the markets knows that is not a trader trading for profit. They do not have a profit motive when they do that in the middle of the thinnest market of the week. That is not a profit-driven trade. That is a manipulative trade intended to move the market lower. And of course, that's exactly what it did. We got a $100 price plunge. Of course, a strong recovery. Buyers came in and bought that price spike. The selling didn't end at the 12-minute point. There were additional, within just a few more minutes, there were additional contracts sold. I think it was another 5,000 contracts. In total, there were 24,000 contracts sold in the first 15, 20 minutes of the open on Sunday night. And so anyway, when we look at these price charts, we have to acknowledge that this is not normal Normal. What's normal these days when the Fed's manipulating all markets? This is not natural price action in this market. This is price action driven by non-economic sellers attempting to manipulate the market. So anyway, this morning we've got price bouncing off the 1730 level and getting a pretty good bounce. MACD is in bear mode, but potentially turning up. Let's keep rolling. Silver in the monthly time frame, so we got a violation to the downside. Is this pattern negated, or is this just an overshoot? Based on what I was just saying, all of these markets are manipulated. One of the ways they are manipulated is that the entities, the whales, whoever you want to decide that they have enough firepower that they can paint the charts. They know technical analysis. They know that this flag pattern is building. And so if they can intentionally invalidate this pattern, some traders will bail. They'll bail on their position, and when price reverses and heads back to the upside, because the underlying trend is still to the upside, folks, those weak hands will have been shook out. And so I always have to acknowledge that an overshoot to the downside is potentially just manipulation and natural price action. Silver in the weekly time frame, so we can see we've got this, this was the spike down to the 23 level. We're bouncing there, found support there for now. This is not a pretty chart, and notice that if we lose if we do lose this support, that 19 is our next target. So $4 gap there if the people who are trying to control these markets are able to continue doing so. Today is the CPI, and so that's another economic event that it's not uncommon that the precious metals markets will be attacked around that report. And of course today, depending on how well they're able to manipulate that report, it's going to show inflation is hot, which you would think that would be strength for the precious metals. Now they probably manipulate that report so that inflation is minimized, but that's just me. I'm a born cynic, skeptic, both. Here's silver in the daily time frame. Again, not a pretty chart. We got this big spike to the downside. Price found support at this level, and we got a strong bounce. One of the things I noticed this morning looking at this chart, again, this is daily, silver in the daily time frame. So back here this is January of 21, we got this 5-wave downward movement. So here's wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so in Elliott wave theory principles, we talk about 3-wave price movements and 5-wave price movements as being complete potentially. You can certainly get more than 5 waves, and 3 waves is not always definitive either. But anyway, we look at, as one of the fundamental principles of Elliott wave theory, we have 3-wave movements and 5-wave movements as being complete. And so potentially this is a complete 5-wave price movement. And look what happened. We got, I think that's $4.50. So we got a $4.50 rally after silver did a 5-wave down movement. Well, here we are. Trace through with me. Here's wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. So potentially, again, here in silver daily, we have a 5-wave downward movement that could be a complete price move, suggesting that the next primary move in silver is to the upside. And potentially, we got $4.50 out of the last. The last time silver did this, we got a $4.50 rally. So, what do we get this time? I tend to ignore when a price spike like that happens on clearly manipulative behavior. I tend to ignore that action. So again, it's not natural action. And so as far as the end of wave 5 here, I would say that it's there and ignore that price spike. But that's just me. Here, GDXJ, this is the weekly time frame. Apologize, I'm running long, folks. So again, price is invalidating my theory here. My theory has been that the mining stocks were back into a primary uptrend, starting there. And so obviously, something else is going on here. And so, price is continuing to invalidate my premise on the mining stocks. So I am going to take a closer look at that, and we'll have an update Sunday. So GDXJ in the weekly time frame, and of course markets are open now. So we got a little bit of a bounce this morning, just not pretty action. We're back. This is probably price testing. Well, no, so still not back to the top of that channel boundary. So, not pretty action in the mining stocks. Same thing, silver mining stocks. This is still got a bounce this morning. This is dollar in the weekly time frame. We're back up testing resistance at the 93 level. Potential for the dollar to push on up. Yeah, guys, 95. Can we get to 95? I wouldn't say, I don't see 95. There's 94.8. So maybe you get to 94.8 and you get a spike up to 95. But yeah, I wouldn't expect the dollar to get much higher than 95, albeit we have to acknowledge that it could rally to that level. We could see additional dollar strength. And I say this somewhat regularly. I am always reminded when I look at strength in the dollar what Richard Russell said about a synthetic short in the US dollar. If international investors start bailing on their investments, just a general divestment, it doesn't matter whether, oil, gold, equities, doesn't matter what it is. I'm liquidating my investments. Those US dollars are going to come home to roost. And that's, if I understand what Richard was saying, that movement, that those dollars coming home could drive unexpected strength in the dollar, which of course affects most of the financial market. So anyway, I'm watching for unexpected strength in the US dollar. Here we are in the daily time frame, prices dealing with resistance from these previous highs, pushing back up into the 93 level. So bullish, no reason to expect this upward movement in the dollar to stop yet. Let's see, this is interest rates in the weekly time frame. This is a test of horizontal support. You can see support here, that's a bullish movement, impulsive movement there. And now we see that level is providing support. We're getting a bounce off that level. We've got the overhead resistance from the 10-week moving average, and then that horizontal zone, what is now resistance overhead there in that zone in the daily time frame. So strong move higher in interest rates starting last week. Japanese candle patterns, those three candles there are a three white soldiers candlestick pattern, which is a sign of strength. Even if we were unaware of that candle pattern, we can see back all the way back to the start of this movement. Doji, that's indicative of high energy. Another doji, wide-ranging doji. So a lot of energy expended on that bar. Then we get a bullish candle pushing up into resistance. We open with an impulsive gap, and then interest rates, price does what it does there. So if we're looking for signs of elevated energy, we're looking to take a long position, we started getting hints all the way back here. And so, the only question is, what's your strategy as a trader? What's your entry plan? What's your entry trigger to get into that trade? And I'm not going to suggest what your strategy ought to be. We all have to arrive at a successful strategy for ourselves. Equity markets, this is S&P pushing higher along the median line of that Andrews fork. What is that? Probably an Andrews. Nope, looks like that is a mod shift. Now the blue, the pink's just a channel. Pink's price channel. I went back too far. That is a Andrews pitchfork. So yeah. So following the median line of that Andrews pitchfork higher, MACD in bull mode, energy elevated. No reason to expect that push in the equity markets isn't going to continue. Here's the Dow, markets are open. So big not so much a gap, but a little bit of a gap. Big push in the Dow this morning. Obviously ran into resistance at the median line of that Andrews pitchfork, but that's bullish action in the Dow. MACD giving us a buy signal, mostly flat, but looks like we are getting a new, if you want to call that a buy signal, there it is. Energy remains elevated. Let's see what the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq's not as happy this morning. So in the Nasdaq, Brent, big downward movement. Price is still trying to digest that downward movement is how I would describe that price action, potentially a double bottom there. So folks, let's go one more look at gold and silver. So still nice looking action. And again, what I was just pointing out, this, having manipulators manipulate the markets is never a good thing. But the fact that buyers came in at 1680 and bought gold, brought it back up to this level, that is a positive indication. And then, dojis are always indicative of high energy. So another indication that energy is elevated. And now today we're working on this bullish candle coming out of this bottom, forced manipulative bottom. So anyway, folks, I'm going to wrap it up there. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you soon.